Greetings to all the communities present here today, and to representatives of our great state's leadership. Hello, and thank you for joining us as we remember and honor those that we lost on 9/11. My name is Shahan Rizvi, and I'd like to take a moment of your time to reflect back on my experiences with 9/11 and the subsequent impact it has made on my life, as well as the lessons I've learned. September 11th, 2001. It was a day in my life that plays back in my memory like a DVR recording. I remember I was in 11th grade of high school at the time, sitting in AP US history class, learning about what seemed like a pretty dry lesson on the Louisiana Purchase. As my teacher moved towards the television in our classroom to play a lecture-related video for our viewing pleasure, he turns on the TV, and the very first image we saw is a plane striking the World Trade Center. Needless to say, at this point, class was pretty much over. As I sat at home watching the news with my family, Muslim names began to appear on television, and infamous names such as Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda would be introduced and forever etched into my memory. As I watched these events unfold and saw the names of Muslims being associated with this attack, I began asking myself, why a religion I've held so near and dear to my heart had to be affiliated with this sort of tragedy? Was this tragedy religiously motivated? Would my God condone this sort of behavior? The answer is, of course not. I was brought up a Muslim American. These identities were very important to me. I held pride in fasting during Ramadan just as much as I felt inherent patriotism every time I recited the Pledge of Allegiance in grade school. I knew for a fact that excerpts written in the Quran stated that the killing of an innocent life was not just wrong, but would ensure one's soul to be subjected to the severest penalties in the afterlife. The Quran even reveals harming one's own body is wrong, so taking another life was an obvious no-brainer to me. While I believe this to be true, I knew a lot of others that weren't a part of the faith wouldn't readily understand that. The weeks that followed were obviously marked by various incidents of bigotry, racism, stereotypes, all of which I was prepared for and honestly did not feel bad about being subjected to. People were hurt. Families were affected. The people that subjected me personally to bigotry post 9/11, I knew the pain they were feeling inside. That feeling of not understanding what was going on, how to cope with it, who to blame, it can drive a person mad. From that moment, I knew I had a mission. My mission was to drive communication and to educate others on Islam. I wanted people to know my faith would never tolerate this, and I too was mourning the loss of the lives taken away in this tragedy. Through the work of Muslim Council's president in Howard County, I made sure I took an active role in alleviating the concerns of non-Muslims. Through the work of these councils, I participated in organizing annual food drives, clothing drives, as well as reaching out to members of our law enforcement to let them know that the Muslims of Maryland are very approachable and the open line of communication was always available. Through the years, I personally hosted candlelight vigils in my home, in public parks, and my own masjid to honor innocent lives taken on 9/11. I've invited people from all walks of life to attend these events. I've even personally invited law enforcement officials, such as the FBI, to come down and speak to members of my masjid. I wanted them to be rest assured that any word or knowledge of terrorism taking place in this area would not be tolerated by any Muslim American and would be forwarded immediately to the law of our land. To this day, I stand by this creed. Terrorism will not be tolerated by my religion, the communities to which I belong, and of course myself. I'm a proud citizen of this country and always will be. But I cannot fight this battle alone. For this reason, I encourage all of you here today to reach out to the communities to which you belong and to fight the good fight against ignorance and giving in to stereotypes. Never forget 9/11, but do remember, no religion, especially Islam, would ever tolerate the killing of innocent people. Always keep the line of communication open, and rest assured knowing that masjids throughout Maryland, especially Dar Al Taqwa, will always have a door to assist anyone, especially law enforcement, in the mission to fight terrorism and misrepresentatives of any faith. I'd like to leave you all with a quote I am reminded of by Felix Adler, who quotes, "People may be said to resemble not the bricks of which a house is built, but to pieces of a picture puzzle, each differing in shape, but matching the rest, and thus bringing out the picture. I implore all of you to stay involved in the community surrounding you, and to always keep the line of communication open with them. For in this life, we are all parts of a puzzle. When we communicate, we in essence connect with each other to bring out the picture puzzle I call progress." Thank you all for your time, and God bless America.
Thank you, Shahan, for those remarks. I will always stand up and fight to end discrimination of any kind anywhere in the United States of America. We must say no to hate crimes, racial profiling, racial redlining, and racial sidelining. Ladies and gentlemen, these words were spoken by none other than our very own United States Senator from Maryland, Barbara Mikulski. As an extremely patriotic, conscientious, remarkably brilliant, and resilient senator, Ms. Mikulski has been a fighter and advocate for our great state of Maryland, as well as for the long-range needs of the nation. Determined to make a difference in the community, Senator Mikulski has served on the Baltimore City Council for 5 years, representing Maryland in the United States House of Representatives for 10 years, and representing Maryland in the United States Senate since 1986, where she currently serves as the Dean of the Women. She's pretty amazing. Senator Mikulski believes her constituents have a right to know, a right to be heard, and a right to be represented. So without further ado, please put your hands together and help me to introduce one of America's finest, our very own United States Senator, Barbara Mikulski.
Shaky ground. Good morning, everybody. I'm so pleased to be here tonight and today to come together in friendship and fellowship to commemorate the events around September 11th, 2001. I want to acknowledge all of the many organizations, volunteers, and helping hands that bring us together, all of whose names were said earlier, and I would like to just extend my respect to them and appreciation for giving us this forum to come. Today, my remarks really come in behalf of the entire Maryland delegation. As both the Dean of the Maryland delegation, the most senior member, many of my colleagues are at other commemorative events around our community and around our state, and they asked me to send their regards and their respects to all of you. I wanted to be here today just to be together. You know, sometimes when your heart hurts, you just got to be together. And my own mood today is one of a very heavy heart. I'm filled with emotion. It's a poignant day. It's powerful memories. And I think back not only to 9/11, but to September 10th, the day before, the day of, and the days that followed. For me, today is a day of deja vu, almost of post-traumatic stress. Because on that day, I was at the Capitol of the United States, and inside the Leadership Council when the second plane hit, and I thought I was going to die that day. I'm alive because of the bravery and fortitude and the generosity of spirit of the people in Flight 93. So when you talk to me today, if I don't see my usual ebullient self, or jolly, or filled with exuberance, it's because I think about it all. I think about what was done to us, and I've thought about what we've done to ourselves. We had so much happen that I think we're still sorting out our emotions and our reactions and how to move our country forward. But so much good was there, and so much happened. The day before, I'll just share two quick memories. In an atmosphere where you now see such prickly politics, the day before I was at the Arbutus Fire Station. I had worked with a Republican senator and Steny Hoyer and a Republican member of the House to create a new program to help firefighters get the equipment that they needed. And the very first grant was for Maryland, what came to the Arbutus Fire Center in Baltimore County. And it was a great day because they were going to have the right equipment so that they could do the right things by us. Little did I, and I was filled with happiness for them, pride in what I could do as a senator, and the fact that we did it on a bipartisan basis. Little did I know that 24 hours later, from that very announcement, firefighters would be running into the World Trade Center, many never to return. And that night, I was at the home of Senator Hillary Rodham Courtney. We were doing something unique, but what we women have done through the ages in every country. One of our colleagues, Kay Bailey Hutchinson, had adopted a baby. And we, like women everywhere, we threw a shower from the workplace girls. So all of us were at Hillary's house, that's some house I might add, in which we gave gifts, wonderfully supportive, some gagged, and we all reflected again. We were there on a bipartisan basis. Why can't we all be together and work together? Little did I know, the very next morning, coming into the Capitol, I heard about the first plane in my car. I thought it was a terrible accident. I went into the Leadership Council, and the second plane hit. We knew something was terribly wrong. And as we gathered to talk about where we should move forward, the plane hit the Pentagon. We knew we were at war. The Capitol Police ran in and said, there's a plane coming towards us. That was Flight 93. We were told to evacuate. I went down the stairs. On my way down, I stopped to get the pages. We had high school boys and girls who come to be with us to make sure they could get out and head to the dorm. I ran down through the back stairs, and remember, me running is no small feat. Went into the kitchen where the Senate dining room is to make sure the help got out. It's not about me. We were all trying to help one another. That was the operative word of that day. We were all trying to help each other. And went out and went to my office to get my staff and told them, leave. We had to decide, we members of the Senate, whether we were going to leave town, and we said no. We would all go to places and shelter in place so that we didn't know if we would be needed. But we all watched that day unfold. We heard about the horror, we heard the buildings collapse, we heard about the death and destruction. But that night, we gathered on the steps of the Capitol for a brief memorial service. And then one of the African-American members of Congress started the song, God Bless America. And in that moment, Bob Mikulski, standing next to Trent Lott, a Republican, standing next to another member of the House whose party I didn't know. It didn't matter. We were all united as one country, indivisible, under God, ready to fight for liberty and justice for all. That day, I was able to live because others made sacrifices. I'll never forget that day. And I'll never forget the violence that was done to America, but I will never forget the sacrifice that was done by others in behalf of America. And as I reflect on what then has happened, is what was done to us, and then what we've done to each other. What was done to us was a terrible act of violence, and we've taken action, we acted with resolve, we acted to defend the United States of America. But what we did to each other was like a split-screen TV. Out of it came tremendous sacrifice, a devotion, a commitment to working to make America better. But at the same time, you know that the other thing that we did to ourselves was the emergence of intolerance. Intolerance towards particularly the Muslim community. And I wanted to reach down inside of myself to be able to join with you and be empathetic, to let you know that I understood. And I thought back to the days of my own childhood during World War II, when I lived in a neighborhood where there were Italians and Germans. They saw themselves as Americans. They didn't want to see themselves, they didn't want the community to see themselves as Nazis and fascists. They had boys that were